Welcome back. Life in the Fast Lane. And we are green. I'm wearing the green shirt. We're dropping the green flag. We're going to try to make you some green this weekend on the road course at Watkins Glen. Good news, NASCAR is back after their 2-week Olympic hiatus. Hope all the drivers got back safely from Tokyo as we speak. We're going to break down the road course in Watkins Glen, New York. And we've had several road courses to look at this year, so a little bit more data than we normally have for this venue. But first, though, let's do the Rocky recap. Rocky honestly can't remember where they were 3 weeks ago before they went to Tokyo. Give me the Rocky recap here for the last race, New Hampshire, I believe.
Yeah, they were in New Hampshire, and 2 weeks ago before the Olympic break, Eric Almirola brought home the win, brought home the checker flag there. First win of the season. So he just took a playoff spot from somebody who deserved it, as he hasn't run good all year. But that win gets him into the playoffs now. The race was cut 8 laps short due to darkness. New Hampshire, get some lights. Christopher Bell finished second. Brad Keselowski third. Joey Logano fourth. Ryan Blaney fifth. Kevin Harvick was in sixth. Kyle Larson seventh. Ross Chastain eighth. Alex Bowman in ninth. Denny Hamlin rounded out the top 10 with a 10th place finish. Kyle Busch was on the pole, but if we remember correctly, he wrecked on lap 6 after a little rain hit the track. He got loose, hit the wall. Blaney won stage 1. Keselowski won stage 2. So overall, it was a very good day for Team Penske as they finished 3rd, 4th, and 5th and won 2 of the 3 stages. 13 drivers have now won a race this year. And again, like I do every show, I want to mention that 2 drivers that absolutely dominated the circuit last year, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, both have still yet to win a race this year, but they're both still sitting in playoffs right now. But they dropped to 14th and 15th in the playoff standings after Almirola got his first win of the year. And we have 4 races left until the playoffs start here in Darlington, my home track. Hamlin, he has run well this year, still remains the points leader, 13 points ahead of Larson, but Harvick has struggled on the season. Tyler Reddick rounds out the top 16 in the playoffs as of right now. Austin Dillon, Chris Buescher, Matt DiBenedetto, and Ross Chastain are the first 4 out currently. And we'll, as always, we'll continue to monitor how this plays out over the next few races as these drivers on the cut here, say Hamlin and Harvick, along with Reddick and the first 4 out, they'll have a little extra incentive to do well here in the upcoming races.
Yeah, I mean, Rocky, it's really crazy. We, as you said, 4 races left. We have 13 different winners. So, I mean, theoretically, you could have a situation where both Hamlin and Harvick do not make the playoffs because there's 4 races left. Not likely, but I think what is more real, what is possible is one of them doesn't make it if we have, we'd have to have 2 more different winners in the final 4. But let's keep in mind where these final 4 races are. Watkins Glen, a road course this week. Definitely could have a strange outcome there. Maybe a guy that's not a top 15 driver. Indy road course after that. Another road course next week. They're not messing around with these road courses. As I said, I believe there's 7 of them this year on the circuit. Michigan, cookie cutter. Hamlin or Harvick will have a very good chance there. And then the cutoff race. You know NASCAR didn't do this on purpose. Daytona on August 28th. No longer July 4th weekend. And Andy, you're shaking your head. I don't disagree with you. I mean, it's kind of crazy that the cutoff race is the most random race. And you know they did that on purpose. I'm not quite sure the logic there. And then Darlington and Richmond, Rocky's home track and my home track are the first 2. Indy road course, Andy's semi-home track, along with Indianapolis, the regular track. Andy, your thoughts on this? And do we give the Stenhouse Award to NASCAR because of this schedule, or do you have something for New Hampshire? The weather? Get some damn lights, maybe the best line Rocky's ever had in our 2 years of doing this show. I know Rocky's thinking his Little League fields can have it. Why can't a big NASCAR track have lights, right? But Andy, your thoughts on all of this since we've had 3 weeks since we've all talked, your thoughts on all of this and more, and maybe a Stenhouse Award to boot.
I hate that I like that they're racing at the restrictor plate track right before the playoffs. I hate myself for liking it, but I get it. I mean, if you got a playoff spot on the line, is it more likely for a random winner to win Daytona or Texas?
Right.
I get it. You can just see it. 5 laps to go. Denny Hamlin not in the lead, on the bubble if he doesn't get the win. Kevin Harvick fading. Ryan Prix or whoever is up there. Like, you can see it. It's going to be exciting. I'm going to be watching, and it's basically the way that you pave the way for an exciting race leading into the playoffs with somebody random that could make it and eliminate some big name guys. I hate that I like it, but I get it. We do have a Stenhouse Award. It's actually a twofer. We took a couple weeks off, but I have to do 2 races that started in the rain. First off, we have to go to New Hampshire. It's a great day for Penske when the top 2 guys wreck when it's raining. And how funny was that they spin going in there because they're ahead of everyone, because they're so far ahead of everyone. Everyone else gets to see them and slow down. So, they all kind of escape. And then another race that started in the rain, the Hungarian Grand Prix, they started in the rain. Valtteri Bottas doesn't realize you have to brake a little bit earlier in the rain. He goes into the first turn way too hot, and he takes out second, third, fourth, and fifth in the first turn of the first lap. And then Lewis Hamilton botches the pit stop, a complete disaster. The winner of that race was Esteban Ocon, who has not won a race since he was a teenager. So that the Stenhouse Award goes to rain and completely affecting the outcome of giving us 2 random winners, Eric Almirola and Esteban Ocon. So congratulations to the rain.
And I think weather might be a repeat winner this year, if I'm not mistaken. Back at the very beginning of the season, we had something like that. So that's pretty crazy.
The weather,
Coda? By the way,
remember what?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Made him.
Yeah.
They made him race at Coda, and then we had the Rain X squeegee gate incident.
That's right.
There.
Yeah, we got back-to-back road courses. Watkins Glen this week, Indy road courses I mentioned next week. So we're going to see more rain tires, more windshield wipers, brake lights on the cars. And just recapping once again the point standings that Rocky brought up before we get into Watkins Glen. Denny Hamlin right now is leading everyone in points despite having no wins. And I don't think it's going to happen that we're going to get 3 different winners in the next 4 races without being Hamlin being one of them. But they really should have a rule just in case. I don't think they ever saw this coming, where the points leader automatically gets one of the playoff spots. Can you imagine if he doesn't win a race and he finishes in the points lead and is still not in the playoff picture? But it'll be exciting. And I'm warming up to the Daytona thing, Andy. You've sold me on it. Sold. I'll buy one because I like that idea. It is going to be exciting. And that's why they put Michigan an ultimate 2-mile cookie cutter the week before, because they'd be like, look, Hamlin, you want to get a win. If you don't want to have to worry, or Harvick, you got to get it now because it's going to be chaos on August 28th in Daytona. Road course, guys, they can be a little bit random, but we still have the usual suspects. And Rocky, I'll start with you. Watkins Glen, New York. For years, for decades, we had Sonoma and Watkins Glen. We had 2 road courses, very different types of tracks. We'd see guys do well at one. Keselowski always did a lot better in New York, for example, than California. Some guys do well at both. But now we have other courses. We had Coda that Andy mentioned down in Austin this year for the first time. Road Course of America in Wisconsin, Road America, just a few weeks ago. We have these Rovals, which I don't think we put quite as much stock into because it's half oval, half road course. But obviously, Chase Elliott's been dominant. We all know that. Kyle Larson's been really good. But Rocky, give me a top 3 driver that you're looking at this week.
Well, Andy and I agreed not to really go with Chase Elliott, but we decided we would mention him. So I do want to go over his stats. He's been a beast on road courses. He's third in all-time wins now on road course tracks, with 7 wins, only behind Jeff Gordon, who has 9. Tony Stewart has 8. And let's keep in mind that Chase Elliott's young. I mean, I don't remember exactly how old he is, but he's still got a long way to go, if he don't get hurt or anything. But here at Watkins Glen, he has 2 wins, 2 top 5 finishes, 2 top 10s, and 4 races here. Average finish of 7.0 at this track. He's won the past 2 races here. And as far as track type, he has 7 wins, 9 top 5 finishes, 11 top 10s, and 16 road course races. Average finish at 8.2 in his career. Another guy I want to mention, we spoke about him here briefly, Denny Hamlin. He hasn't won yet this year, but he has been real consistent. He has run well. He leads the point standings. He has 1 win here, 4 top 5 finishes, 7 top 10s in 14 races here at Watkins Glen. His average finish is 16.3 at this track, which really isn't that great. He has finished 3rd and 13th the past 2 races here. Like I said, he remains the point leader this year, 13 points ahead of Kyle Larson, but he has been very consistent, so I'm going to look for Hamlin to do well this weekend.
And Hamlin's a guy, obviously, as we've talked about a few times, the number one points leader despite having no wins. You have to go all the way down to 10th. Kevin Harvick is the next guy, top 10 points with no wins this season, we've talked about as well. And Hamlin's good on all types of tracks, Andy, and road courses is one that he's probably a little underrated on, but he's been good as well over the years. Gibbs Racing also just good in general on these tracks. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Christopher Bell won the second race of the year on the Roval at Daytona in the 20 cars. So Gibbs Racing is kind of my preferred team on these road courses. Andy, who's somebody you're looking at Watkins Glen?
I am going to scroll a little bit down. I want to go over three guys in this little segment that I think could be good bet-ons, because I think when we're talking road courses, there's just a tier of guys that can win, and then there's kind of everyone else. So I don't want to go over a lot of the same names that Rocky's going over. I'm going to look at a guy that's starting a little bit farther back, but Kurt Busch. Been really solid on road courses this season. 6th at Sonoma, 4th at Road America. His last 3 races at Watkins Glen average an 8.3 place finish, and he has a win this year. So he's proven that he can get out in front and lead. I mean, he held off his brother, arguably the best at chasing guys down and passing. So it was a spirited performance. That team must have a lot of confidence, and he's starting a little bit farther back. I think he's going to be really interesting in head-to-head matchups. I'll be excited to see who the books give us in a head-to-head matchup against Kurt, because over the course of a longer race at Watkins Glen, he's going to be a guy that should move up through the field. So that's my first guy to keep an eye on, Kurt Busch.
Yeah, and the wily veteran Kurt Busch. And once again, limited time at Watkins Glen in recent years, practice sessions and whatnot. We talked about that with Sonoma a couple months ago, and they had no practice. They hadn't been there the year before. Maybe we give a little bit of a tilt to veterans, and so far we've mentioned 2 of them, Hamlin, Kurt Busch. Rocky Atkinson, sportsmemo.com. Who's somebody else you're looking at Watkins Glen for Sunday?
I'm going to mention Martin Truex Jr. He has 1 win, 6 top 5 finishes, 9 top 10 finishes, and 14 races here at Watkins Glen. Average finish, very good, 10.6 at this track. And over the past 3 years, they didn't race here last year, I don't think. So back in 2018, 2019, he finished 2nd in both of those races here. So I'm looking for Martin Truex Jr. to do well this weekend.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, Gibbs Racing is my preferred team. I know Hendrick's been really strong, but the veterans are on Gibbs, and now we've mentioned 2 of them, Hamlin, Truex, Kyle Busch, as I said, Christopher Bell. So I don't think you can go wrong with Gibbs Racing. Truex has been a little off the last few weeks or last month or 2, but he still was the first guy to get 2 wins this season among all the active drivers, and he's been very strong at times. And now you got to also wonder, Andy, this 2 weeks off, is this kind of the reset, and I'll let you guys see if you bring up Kyle Larson, but there was some news coming out about, some controversy during the break. And I've said all along, you almost had to wonder if the 48 or the 5 team was the 48 team. Now they're the 5 team. And the 48 team, by the way, during Johnson's dominance at times was called out for doing some funny business. Kyle Larson's team has just been dominant. And I've questioned on the show here, are they doing something a little different, maybe a little unethical, hint, hint. So we'll see. I think we have to keep an eye on Hendrick Motorsports going closely going forward. Andy, who's someone you're looking at, though, here at Watkins Glen?
I'm going to talk about an under-the-radar guy who I've bet against, but I'm going to be looking to bet on him in some aspect based on the odds that's coming out. And I'd like to talk a little bit about Chase Briscoe. He finished 17th at Sonoma and 6th at Road America. What I really like about him is, he had never raced at Sonoma this year. So he went out and he raced in the ARCA series before they raced at Sonoma, and he led every lap. He won. And I kind of looked up what he did in the Xfinity series, and he's only raced at Watkins Glen once, but he finished 6th. And when he raced in the Xfinity series, he raced in a few road courses, and he finished top 3 in all of them but 3 of those races. He's raced on road course in the Camping World Truck Series, finished 7th. So he, over a course of his career, he's shown that he can flash on these road courses. And it looks like he's going to be racing in the ARCA Series again on Saturday at Watkins Glen, and to get some more feel. So what he's done a really good job of is, if he hasn't raced at a track, he goes and gets some time on the track to learn it. And he's shown that he can finish good on road courses. I'll be interested to see what kind of matchups and top 10s we get with Chase Briscoe, that's a guy to keep an eye on in your daily fantasies and your seasonal fantasies. Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good pick for fantasy because you always need those mid-tier price guys. And although they did not race here or Sonoma last year, as Rocky mentioned in 2020, the Xfinity guys do have some experience here from years past. And Briscoe's a guy I do think is a pretty good road course racer from what I've seen as well. Once again, no practice, no qualifying this weekend. They did not race here last year. So the last time these guys have been at Watkins Glen was 2019, pre-COVID. A lot of these guys weren't even in the Cup Series yet. So we'll see how that plays out. Briscoe, though, does have some experience from the Xfinity. Rocky, give me another top three guy, maybe another driver you're looking at for Watkins Glen.
You mentioned him a short while ago, Kyle Larson. He's just been dominating this season. And, you know, I question whether or not he would be good on a road course, as that hasn't really been a strong point of his over the years. And he won one earlier this year. So, you know, that told me something there. He has no wins here, 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, and 6 races here at Watkins Glen. Average finishes a decent 13.6 at this track. Over the past 2 races, though, here, he has an average finish of 7.0, finishing 6th and 8th. And both of those were in a weaker car than he's in this year. So I'm looking for Larson to continue to do well this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the big question, like I said, with Kyle Larson is something changed. He has not been dominant those last few races. Some rumblings came out during the 2-week break about stuff going on. So we'll see what happens with Kyle Larson. But, I mean, it's hard to disagree with him on any track compared to what we have seen this season. And he is a talent. You know, he got it done in the 42 car. Now he's in a much better machine with a much better team, in my opinion, with Hendrick. And he has been a good road course racer. So Rocky's looking at Denny Hamlin, Truex Jr., and Kyle Larson. Andy's given us some long shots already. Kurt Busch, Briscoe, some really good fantasy plays here. Those guys are going to get in that mid-tier price range that you have to fill your roster. Andy, finish out your top 3 here. You want to still go mid-pack sleepers, or you got an outright winner for us?
The only thing better than betting on Kyle Busch is betting on a really mad Kyle Busch. And after losing to his brother and then spinning at New Hampshire, and then he gets to just sit on it for a couple weeks and stew and steam and be all mad about it, I want Kyle Busch. The last 2 road course races, he's got the second best average finish in NASCAR, right behind Chase Elliott. So the finishes have been there. And, I mean, talk about an emotional motivation. That guy, you know he's thinking about it. You know he's mad. You just watch his interviews post-race. This is not exactly a guy that gets over something. So I get a little bit of extra motivated Kyle Busch. I'll take him to challenge for the win this week.
Yeah, and I mean, he bit his lip. He actually kept his emotions in check pretty good. He even said a couple times, I better just not say anything else when they interviewed him right after he spins out as the leader because they don't throw the caution soon enough with wet conditions. So we got the triple Bs, BBB, Busch, Briscoe for Andy Lang. Rocky, let me throw it back to you. Give me a long shot. Andy's mentioned a couple. I mean, Briscoe obviously qualifies. Even Kurt Busch was a semi-long shot when he won a few weeks ago. Don't forget, we've mentioned him on the show. We've mentioned Almirola, I believe, a few times. I'm not sure we had him in the New Hampshire episode, but he's a guy we said had been underperforming. Did you mention it, Andy? I meant to mention that earlier when we did the recap. Did you have him on the New Hampshire show? Did you do your homework?
Yeah, I think so. I did my homework.
That a boy. Nice. Rocky, give me a long shot. I mean, who's someone here on the road course that might surprise?
I'm going to go with Eric Jones here. 300 to 1 odds. While he has no wins here, he has 2 top 5 finishes, 3 top 10 finishes in 3 races here at Watkins Glen. He has the best average finish among all active drivers at 6.3 here. And over the past 2 races here at Watkins Glen, he's finished 4th and 5th. We do keep in mind that he was in a stronger car then. He was in the 20 car that Christopher Bell is driving now. But he still has the experience and the knowledge to get around this track. And while his car may not be as good as some of the others, I think he's definitely worth looking at. Possible head-to-head matchup this weekend, maybe some fantasy play on him. But 300 to 1 is what I saw, and I'm expecting to do well and maybe get a top 10, top 15.
Yeah, once again, anybody who's new to the show, you know, we say this every week, but when we're giving these long shots, we're not necessarily expecting them to win. Obviously, at 300 to 1, you can be wrong 299 times out of 300 and still break even if you play it. But, I mean, there's a lot of ways. I think the long shots are actually more beneficial than our top 3 drivers because, as you said, Rocky, head-to-head matchups. You're going to get them against a mid-tier driver if you can find a head-to-head. fantasy, as Andy's talked about a couple times, you need these mid-price guys to fill out your 6-man roster in the daily fantasy. And then also top 3, top 5, top 10 especially. The top 10, you're still getting these guys at plus money a lot of times. And I think that's the way to play it. And I also think the weaker car, not as much of an issue on a road course. The pit crew might be, but I think that pit crew is okay. So I do think we've mentioned Jones a few times. You know, we had Almirola and Busch. Jones might sneak up and surprise this week. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Andy, you got any more long shots, or do you want to get to a play against guy? Which way do you want to go on this?
Long shot, Daniel Suarez. This is a long shot. Average finish the last 3 races at Watkins Glen, 8th, which doesn't make any sense. But for whatever reason, he likes this place. And he did finish 12th at Sonoma earlier this year. He just likes racing on road courses. And it kind of goes back to Rocky's point. You know, someone like Eric Jones, yeah, he's in lesser equipment, which I think we're going to see more effect on the bigger tracks. Like, it's going to be hard for him to keep up at Pocono. It's going to be hard for him to keep up at Michigan and Texas and Atlanta. But on these road courses, it's a completely different type of setup. You don't need that huge speed down, you know, a long backstretch. It's about turns, and there's a lot more driver ability and talent in there. So Daniel Suarez, for whatever reason, really likes racing on road courses. I'd take him as a long shot.
And you guys are going to both either be very right or very wrong, because both of them have been in the 20 Gibbs car at one point in their career when they put up some good runs on road courses. So we'll find out how much of that was Gibbs, the team I like, or how much of it was skill, or maybe a little bit of each. By the way, you get Suarez at over 2-1 on a top 10. You get Eric Jones at 4-1 on a top 10, and Briscoe at 1.5-1 on a top 10, who Andy mentioned earlier. So once again, showing the power of the top 10 bets for these long shots. Rocky, give me a play against guy before we get to the free head-to-heads.
All right, I'm going to play against Austin Dillon here. He has no wins, no top 5 finishes, no top 10 finishes in 6 races here at Watkins Glen. Average finish is 27.8 at this track. And over the past 3 years, he has an average finish of 29th, as he finished 27th and 31st in those 2 races. Austin Dillon and road courses just don't go together. So I'm going to look to possibly fade Austin Dillon in a head-to-head matchup.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned him at the Sonoma race as a guy that struggled. He did finish 13th, was actually top 6 at the first stage, was not even top 10 the second stage, but a very mediocre 67 driver rating. So I think that 13th is actually a fortunate finish in that race. And, you know, yes, we have other road courses this year, but keep in mind, Watkins Glen and Sonoma is where other guys have a lot of experience. Everything is new at COTA and Road of America. So, yeah, I don't see Austin Dillon flipping a switch all of a sudden and getting it when they weren't even there last year and they have no practice of qualifying this year. Austin Dillon, a play against for Rocky, Atkinson, sportsmemo.com. Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com. Got a play against guy for Watkins Glen?
Yeah, just 2 things for people that are doing their own research out there, which can be tough. You can get tripped up a lot. Sonoma is not the same as Watkins Glen. Like, it is different. You're going to see some of the same name guys, but there are guys that just do better at one or the other. So take it with a grain of salt when you're looking at comparing road courses. And then the other thing, Steve, you mentioned the stage. Don't forget, at Sonoma, a lot of the leaders will pit before the stage 1 is over to get on a different pit cycle. So those stage finishes can be a little deceiving. And remember, we had the issue where they closed pit road a little bit early at Sonoma. So those stage results are going to be a little bit deceiving on who was actually where and what their strategies were. My fade, Rocky, cover your ears. I'm fading Kevin Harvick. I'm sorry. I've been terrible on the road courses this year. Road American Sonoma, his average finish was 24.5. And the other thing that I like about this play, if he is struggling, he's starting 5th. So if we're looking at getting a really good head-to-head price on a big-name guy, I'm going to be scrolling down and seeing who's starting around 15th or 20th, who I think can move through the field, that I can get a really good matchup against Kevin Harvick, maybe even plus money. I would look at a guy like Kurt Busch, who's starting 17th, who I think can move through the field. If I can get Kurt Busch at a good plus money price, that will be the type of play that I'll be looking at. But I'll be looking to fade Harvick.
Yeah, and he's got, over the last 3 years of road courses, including the Rovals, there's been 12 of them. He's only been top 5 in 2 of those 12 races, no wins, 10th best finish, 8th or 9th best driver rating, I believe. So, I mean, that's, decent numbers, but for Harvick, that's not. He's 1 or 2 on all the intermediate tracks and things like that. So he's definitely weaker on these types of tracks. And as we have established, he's been weaker overall this year on all tracks. So here again, don't expect him all of a sudden to get it when there's no practice, no qualifying. They haven't been here for 2 years. Rocky, the last couple of minutes we've got here, once again, Rocky Atkinson, sportsmemo.com. Get his best bets for NASCAR and baseball this weekend at sportsmemo.com. Rocky, give us a free sample, a free head-to-head that you're looking at for this weekend at Watkins Glen.
Well, I'm going to go with my sleeper over a guy I like to fade. So Eric Jones over Bubba Wallace. I already mentioned Jones. He hasn't won here, but he does have 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and 3 races here. Best average finish among all drivers, 6.3, and he's finished 4th and 5th the past 2 races here. Wallace, on the other hand, has no wins, no top 5s, no top 10s, and 2 races here at Watkins Glen. Average finish is 26.5 at this track. In 12 road course races, his average finish is 26.4. So I'm going to look for Eric Jones to finish ahead of Bubba Wallace this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, we pick on Bubba, and he's with a new team, and we, have said that he's been a good play against. But, I mean, this is the ultimate spot. The last 12 road courses he's run since 2018, he's only been top 20 once in 12 races, and he's 41st average finish. I mean, that's insanely bad. So, yeah, fading Bubba makes a lot of sense. And once again, he's a big-name guy. We will find matchups probably with him in there. So I thoroughly agree with him as a play against more than ever this week. Andy, give me a free play. Sometimes you give us props. You are the prop master once again. Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com, golf head-to-heads and props, basketball, hockey, baseball, football props. Football's right around the corner. Of course, we got baseball going now. Olympics as well, about to wrap up. Andy's been slamming the Olympics. Andy, which way do you want to go for a free play here on this show?
He's becoming my favorite driver to bet on. I'm going with Ross Chastain to finish inside the top 10. Last 2 road course races, he's finished top 10. And he gets a good starting position. He's starting 12th. This is a guy who's shown on road courses that he can keep up with the top 10 guys. So he doesn't need to make a big move through the field. He can just hold serve and stay around that top 10 mark. He moved through the field at a couple of road courses this year. So I have the utmost faith that he can stay up there. When you're starting in 12th, you just need to pass a couple guys. I'd look for him to continue that streak to finish inside the top 10. You can get that at plus money right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback on that. That's my sleeper. I've used him in fantasy for the road courses. This is the guy that is legit on road course tracks. Of all the guys we mentioned, like Briscoe earlier, some of the younger names, Chastain is my guy. 40-1 right now to win, 10-1 for a top 3, 4-1 for a top 5, 1.5-1 for a top 10 that you just gave out. This is a guy that legitimately has a long shot I think can win at 40-1. So Chastain is a play-on guy and a long shot all wrapped into one. What a great way to finish the show. Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com, Rocky Atkinson, SportsMemo.com. I'm Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com as well. Check out our best bets for all sports this weekend on the websites. Like, subscribe, and comment below. And we'll be back next Friday for more Life in the Fast Lane right here on WagerTalk TV. Good luck.